Welcome to CBJ in 30, presented by Telhio Credit Union.
Nowhere in my contract does it say I gotta make a fool out of myself, am I right?
You give us 30 minutes, and we'll give you all you want to know about your Columbus Blue Jackets and the NHL.
Anything you folks want to know about the fascinating world of pro hockey, here we go.
Here's your host.
Oh, he's got balls to steal that guy.
Bob McElligott.
Oh, it's a theme from a summer place, and what a summer it is. Crazy summer in some regards, is it not? Welcome to CBJ in 30, presented by Telhio Credit Union. I'm Bob McElligott. Well, I haven't done a show for a couple of weeks, and I felt that it was time to do one more before the 2017-2018 season is officially put to bed. Because even though teams made moves this week that are for the 2018-2019 season, this is really kind of the wrap-up right here. This is, well, in most cases it is. There are still some free agents out there that could get signed. There's still some deals that could get done. But for the most part, we're kind of at the end of one chapter and then waiting to begin a new chapter in the National Hockey League. So I felt that it was time to get back with you one more time on what is a sweltering day on this third day of July as I bring this to you. And it has just been some kind of hot here in central Ohio. It's not a complaint. It's really not. I would rather have it that way than freezing cold or raining all the time. So it is what it is, and you deal with it. It's July, for crying out loud. That's exactly what it's supposed to be. But things got a little bit hot in many ways in the NHL here over the course of the past couple of days. Let's go back to let's just go back to the draft. I think the last time I did a show was right before the draft. I know it was. It was the day before the first round of the draft. The Blue Jackets took Liam Foudy with the 18th overall pick. He comes from the London Knights. Got a chance to take a look at him and some of his other draft mates, if you will, at development camp last week at the Ice House. That culminated with a great 3-on-3 tournament last Thursday afternoon, which was a lot of fun, as it is supposed to be. But Liam Foudy stood out in that tournament, and that's a good thing for the Blue Jackets because, to me, you're supposed to stand out as the number one draft pick. When you come into a camp like that, and you're the number one pick, I think you're supposed to stand out. You should look like a number one pick, and I thought Liam Foudy did look like one. The thing that we saw the most from him is his speed, and that is the number one attribute that he has. There is, I shouldn't say a ways to go. There is room for improvement in the rest of his game. You can't teach speed. Liam Foudy has speed, and as I said, he looked good, especially in that 3-on-3. He had a couple of goals, and you could tell that he feels very comfortable making plays down near the goaltender. So that was good to see. Development camp was very fun for the Blue Jackets. Development camp ends. We move into free agency, which began on Sunday. The free agency not as fun for the Columbus Blue Jackets by any means. But I'm going to start with the positives of free agency and work to the negatives. So starting with the positives, the Blue Jackets were not thought to be doing much in the way of signing free agents, at least not big-name free agents, and that was really the way that it went down. I mean, the Blue Jackets made some smaller signings earlier in the day, something that you certainly expect to see, at least I expect to see it, on free agent day, is you're not only trying to fortify your National Hockey League team, but you also are trying to help out your minor league team and get depth in the system. And the Blue Jackets were able to do just that. And actually that started during development camp when they made the trade and sent Jordan Schrader to the Chicago Blackhawks and got back goaltender J.F. Berube as part of that deal. And Berube, of course, has played in the NHL. He played with the Islanders a couple of years ago, playing with the Blackhawks. But the Blue Jackets got themselves a third goaltender in the system, and that's something they were kind of lacking last year. They had young goaltenders in Cleveland. That is not a good mix in the American Hockey League to have two inexperienced goaltenders. You need somebody with experience, somebody that knows how to win, somebody that knows exactly what it takes. The Blue Jackets now have that with J.F. Berube. But when free agency opened, the Blue Jackets made a couple of moves, again, fortifying the minor league club, giving themselves depth. They signed defenseman Tommy Cross to a 1-year, 2-way NHL-AHL contract. Tommy Cross had been playing in the Boston Bruins organization, so they got him. They then went out and they got defenseman Adam Clendenning. They signed him to a 1-year, 2-way NHL-AHL deal. Adam Clendenning, has played, another guy that has played in the National Hockey League. He has spent the bulk of his time in the American Hockey League, but he's played in the National Hockey League, and it gives them depth at that position in the minors. Also, defenseman Dylan Simpson was signed to a 2-year, 2-way contract by the Blue Jackets. And that's what they did as far as trying to get better in the minors. Now, we'll talk about this in just a bit. When you talk about fortifying the defense, yes, you need that in the minors, and you also need it at the NHL level because of what happened with the rest of free agency, but I'll get to that in a moment. The Blue Jackets did get one NHL free agent that, I thought it was a good signing, and it was something that surprised me a little bit. I saw this guy's name thrown around to some different organizations, but when all was said and done, Riley Nash decided to sign with the Columbus Blue Jackets. Riley Nash is a guy that was originally drafted by Edmonton. He played college hockey at Cornell. He came into the National Hockey League playing for the Carolina Hurricanes, then went to the Boston Bruins, had a very good year last year with the Boston Bruins, found himself on the free agent market, and decided to come to Columbus. Now, I'm just sitting here thinking, I had a chance to talk with Riley Nash, and I have that conversation for you coming up here in just a moment, but I have to go through some of the other stuff so that it all makes sense. So Riley Nash comes in. The Blue Jackets had guys leave. They had Thomas Vanek leave as a free agent, and he's gone back to the Detroit Red Wings. They had Ian Cole, which I'll expand upon here and expound. I'll talk about that more coming up here in just a little bit. Ian Cole went to Colorado. Matt Calvert, who had been the longest tenured Blue Jacket, decided to leave. He also went to the Colorado Avalanche. And then something we'll really get into here in a few minutes, Jack Johnson going to the Pittsburgh Penguins. But anyway, I bring up Calvert in particular because with his departure, there is an avenue there for Riley Nash. There's opportunity for Riley Nash. And as I said, I had a chance to catch up with Riley and talk with him about coming to Columbus and joining the Blue Jackets, and just to get a feel as to who he is and what it is that he'll bring to this organization. First of all, unrestricted free agency means that you have the right to pick to go wherever you want to go. You picked the Columbus Blue Jackets. What was it about Columbus that was so attractive to you?
It's funny because we hadn't really heard a whole lot from their camp, and it wasn't even really on the radar just because we didn't think there was a whole lot of interest with them. They called, I think, and my agent called me, and right away it kind of seemed like a fit that just made sense for me. And obviously the Blue Jackets have been trending in the right direction. They're close, and so just having that kind of team going forward, and hopefully just being able to add to that and maybe get us a little bit closer and over that hump.
You come here from two other stops in the National Hockey League. First of all, with the Carolina Hurricanes, and then most recently with the Boston Bruins. And the Bruins. You look at Columbus, and I'm sure part of the thing is, as you said, it's an organization that it's there, it's on the cusp, getting to the playoffs the last couple of years. That Bruins team you were a part of last year was one that I know at the beginning of the season people were saying, well, it's going to be a down year for them. It's a rebuilding year for Boston. You guys really were able to surprise some people, probably not yourselves as much as people on the outside. What was that whole experience like for you, just to, furthering your own personal career when it comes to getting more experience and playing in big games in the playoffs?
It was awesome. I really enjoyed my time in Boston. Obviously, last year was a successful year for me personally and team-wise. I thought, we started the year, I think a game below or just around 500, and then we really put together a 30-game stretch where we were like 27-2-1 or something crazy, and it just kind of showed that when you band together as a team, you can do some pretty special things. So, it was a great experience, and to be able to be a member of the penalty kill and then play a more important role and just show that we can get it done and be successful. I think it's a good learning curve for me, and hopefully I can bring some of those characteristics and just add to the culture they already have established in Columbus.
Talking with Riley Nash. He is one of the newest members of the Columbus Blue Jackets, signing as a free agent with the Blue Jackets. You mentioned penalty killing. And, Riley, to be completely honest with you, Matt Calvert is no longer in the mix here. He's a guy that departed via free agency. He was a big part of the penalty kill here. What kind of things can you do to help to make sure that the Blue Jackets don't miss a beat when it comes to killing off penalties?
Yeah, I think the last couple of years I've kind of found my stride in that department. Not so much power play time, so putting an emphasis on being ready to go, knowing our penalty kill, the ins and outs, little nuances, and being effective at that. I think the last couple of years in Boston, our penalty kill was one of the top in the league, and before that in Carolina. So it's just a part of my game that I feel like has evolved over the last couple of years with more responsibility in that department. So hopefully I can step in for Calvert, as I know he's a feisty player and very effective on the penalty kill. So hopefully, I can help out, and it's always by committee, so it's not on one guy, but just on the crew that's out there. So hopefully we can keep trending in the right direction and have an effective penalty kill next year. When
you're looking at this group of centermen that you become a part of now, Alexander Wenberg's been here for a couple of years. Brandon Dubinsky's been here for a long time. Lucas Sedlak has been here for the last few years. And then you see Pierre-Luc Dubois, who had a breakout year as a rookie last year. First of all, there will be competition within the group, and competition is a good thing, right? I mean, guys need to push each other to play and get the most minutes they can in every game, right?
Absolutely. I think there's always healthy competition that pushes players to be better, makes everyone stay on their toes. But at the same time, you got to be tight and be a unit. You can't be kind of focusing on yourself. I think those guys there are team first guys. So I'm excited for if another guy's playing really well and helping the team win, and hopefully they're just as excited for myself if I'm doing well. So obviously healthy competition goes a long way in pushing each other and making the team better, and but at the same time keeping that team first attitude, I think goes a long way.
What was the biggest adjustment, or was there much of an adjustment when you went from a market like Carolina, where the Hurricanes are popular, but you go to Boston, to an Original Six market where there's a lot of focus and there's a lot of spotlight on you? What was that kind of change in your career like for you?
I enjoyed it. Being from Canada, there's a lot of focus on the hockey markets up here, and I like that. I like that pressure. I like that people have their eyes on you. They're always keeping tabs. I think it keeps you honest and makes you accountable each and every night. Whether it's good or bad, they're talking about the Bruins and the hockey. And so I think the culture that's established in Columbus is terrific. I think the Blue Jackets have done a fantastic job. Their fan base is great. It's one of the best buildings to play in. So I'm really looking forward to getting in front of I think it's fifth line. I look forward to it. Hopefully I can adjust to the cannon, because I know that's scared the crap out of me a couple times already.
I think that's funny, and it's funny to me because I deal with it every single day. Like, we have it going on all the time, so it doesn't surprise me. I know when it's going to shoot off before the game. I know exactly when it's going to go off after a goal. But as an opposing player, is there any level of intimidation just not having any idea when that thing is going to blast?
Well, now I've been in the league for a couple of years, and I think I know when it's going to go off, but it still somehow scares the crap out of me every once in a while. So, it's fun. It's a really cool atmosphere what they've done there. Their fans are obviously terrific. So, it's just a cool, unique piece of Blue Jackets experience that I'm looking forward to.
The good thing is, Riley, is now even you personally, have a chance to decide when that cannon goes off. Because if you put the puck into the net, it's going to go off. That should change the whole perception of it for you.
Yeah. Well, it's like almost like an alarm clock when you can grow to hate a sound, but now I think I'm going to grow to love it. So I look forward to it.
Talking with Riley Nash. He is signed with the Blue Jackets as a free agent. So what's your schedule as we're here in the early part of July? What are you doing right now, and at what point will you crank it up and start to get really ready for training camp?
Yeah, things are heating up already. I actually was working out back here in town, and I went on a 10-day South African safari. So was able to get some workouts in. But now I'm home for the rest of the summer, and things will definitely crank up, get back on the ice, and have workouts every day. So, this is kind of the part of the season or the summer where you buckle down and get a lot of good work in and prepare yourself for next year.
What exactly does a South African safari consist of? And I ask that because there's a place here, there's about an hour outside of Columbus, there's a place where they simulate it, and you can get into a bus with no roof and drive around, and the animals can, some of them can come close. But I just have the feeling that what you went on was not so much of a petting zoo. Can you tell me about that?
It was not. We had a couple instances where, it gets the heart rate going, the blood starts pumping, you're not quite sure. You kind of forget, or kind of, it doesn't feel as real because you forget that they're live animals and they can, do anything. And especially nowadays, you go to a zoo and everything's so tame and safe. But out there, really, you're at the mercy of the animal if it chooses to do whatever. But it was super cool. The amount of knowledge that we learned from the guides and being able to be like 5 feet, 10 feet away from a pride of lions or giraffes or elephants was just like it was one of the best trips of my life. I'll never forget it for sure. So
one of these bigger physical defensemen in the NHL that might be lining you up for a hit along the boards is now not going to be nearly as scary as not knowing if a lion is coming after you or not.
Yeah, I know I can dodge a defenseman. I'm not sure if I can dodge a lion.
I wouldn't want to try it either. That's so you did whatever you did the right thing because we're having this conversation. So congratulations for that. But it is, it's great to have a chance to talk with you here very briefly. Thanks for taking a couple of minutes out of your summer. Welcome to Columbus. Welcome to the Blue Jackets. I know everyone here is very much looking forward to having you as part of this organization, based on what you've already done in the NHL and the potential that you have to do much more. We're really happy to have you and look forward to meeting you when training camp comes around.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you having me on, and looking forward to getting things started early September.
There he is, the newest Blue Jackets centerman, Riley Nash. And, again, I think it's a real wake-up call to the other guys that are playing that position here. Let's just start from the bottom and work our way up. Lucas Sedlak is a guy that has had injuries in the last 2 years. Very unfortunate injury last year when he was struck in the head by a slap shot and he didn't return. Not didn't really return. He didn't return. He wasn't able to play late in the season and into the playoffs. So Lucas Sedlak is one of those centermen. Brandon Dubinsky, worst year of his NHL career was had last year. He is really one that is being expected to turn things around and get back to normal. I still think that's easier said than done with Brandon, and I say it because he's getting older, and it's just tougher to do. But there's a lot of room for him to bounce back. He is not going to be able to just take his time in doing that, having Riley Nash here. That puts a little bit of fire under you because if you want to be the third-line centerman, you better be ready to go, and you better be producing on a nightly basis. Then you've got Alexander Wenberg, a guy that was supposed to be the number 1 center last year. He wound up being the number 2 center. He got beat out by a 19-year-old in Pierre-Luc Dubois. And where is he? Remember, he got injured in the playoffs and missed a couple of games before being able to come back and finish out the series against Washington. But he's being expected to push for the number 1 spot. I don't know if he can do it. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just putting it into perspective. Pierre-Luc Dubois was so impressive at the way that he was unflappable when pressure came his way, that he played against anybody, that he got better as the season went on, that he played with more of an attitude as we got late into the regular season and into the playoffs. I just think Pierre-Luc Dubois, to me, that's his position to lose, number 1 centerman on this team coming into training camp. And Wenberg really, I know he's a first-round pick, and I know he's got great skill and great intelligence, but he's really got to pick it up if he wants to take ice time away from Pierre-Luc Dubois. And if he doesn't, there's 2 things. If he doesn't take time away from Dubois, and if he falters enough, Riley Nash could move into that spot and take some of his playing time away from him. So, as we talked about there, the competition, it's good. It is healthy. There is nothing wrong with having competition. And the Blue Jackets get a guy who's defensive-minded center. He also, oh, by the way, near the end of the year last year when Patrice Bergeron was hurt, he jumped up and played on the top line for the Boston Bruins. He produced fine. but he's known more as a defensive center, a penalty killer. Matt Calvert's gone. You need somebody to consistently kill penalties, and maybe he's going to be that guy. He'll certainly be given the opportunity. So I think it's a very intriguing situation. I think it's a good job done by the Blue Jackets. They got him for cheap cost, quite frankly. They got him for good money. It fits into their salary cap structure. He wants to be here, and so there you go. Riley Nash is newest member of the Columbus Blue Jackets, and it should be a very good thing. Now, Calvert leaving sucks. It just absolutely sucks. There's no doubt about it. And I think we all knew it was going to happen because of what he was making and the amount of minutes that he was getting or not getting, maybe more specifically. So it wasn't a surprise, but that doesn't mean it's not a disappointment. Matt Calvert, especially now when I've been here for as long as I have, and guys come up and you see them come out of the minors and start their career and then get to be that longest tenured guy, it's sad to see them go. They're your friends, and it is very, very sad to see him go. Ian Cole was the guy I thought the Blue Jackets had to have in free agency, and I'm a little concerned about the defense, especially if Werenski's not able to go at the start of the season because of his surgery. I don't know how comfortable I am with Marcus Nudavara and a Dean Kukan or Scott Harrington being the third pair for the Blue Jackets. But, again, you've got to deal with it, and I feel confident in the fact that if it's not working the way that it needs to work, the Blue Jackets will address it through a trade of some kind, I would imagine. They got Ian Cole with a trade. He came in and did a great job in the final few weeks of the regular season and the playoffs, but that one hurt too. There's no question about it. Thomas Vanek, everybody knew he was going to leave. Jack Johnson, he goes to the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Penguins get him for a very good price. He says some things that ruffled the feathers of John Tortorella. John Tortorella spoke out. I'm just going to tell you this. I love what Torts did. You know I love him. I love his passion. I love the way he defends his team. I love how he defends the organization as a whole. I love how he defends his players. And even though he is very close with Jack Johnson, he felt that Jack did him wrong, and he wasn't afraid to tell everybody about it. And I think with this whole Artemi Panarin situation up in the air, he wants it to be known that the Columbus Blue Jackets are going to be a winner, and he's going to make sure of it. And it's kind of the whole, if you want to be here, great. If you don't want to be here, that's fine. But don't turn around and, throw this organization under the bus, if you will, or don't give the impression you're stabbing the organization in the back. And there are so many things about that whole deal and, what was said by the Penguins general manager, Jim Rutherford, which surprised me. It surprised me that even Jarmo was, it's about the things I read that he said. I was surprised. That's about as forceful as we've heard him, being irritated as a general manager in the NHL. So, but again, I think it's a good thing. I think everything is so boring these days, and everybody's buttoned up, and everybody's buddies with everybody, and shaking hands and slap on the back. And if you have a problem, you never do it out in public. You take care of it behind the scenes. I think sometimes that the dirty water's got to be thrown out there where everybody can see it. And it is old school what John Tortorella did. And I'm an old school guy, and I have no problems with that at all. And I don't think you do. If you're a Blue Jackets fan, I don't think you do. If you're a Penguins fan, you think that he's just a whine and cry baby and he's crazy and he's done this to Pittsburgh for years and years. And but he's been consistent, hasn't he? He's been consistent. He is going to defend the honor of the organization. And that's what I felt that he did in the Jack Johnson situation. So as far as I'm concerned, good on him. I've got some questions that you tweeted me. I was supposed to have this show out yesterday. Not supposed to. It wasn't. I said that I would get it out on July the 2nd. I got all tied up. I had some car problems and was back and forth to the garage, and it just, everything just went the wrong way. So anyhow, that's why I'm a little bit late in getting this out. But I solicited your questions, and I have some via Twitter at Bobby Mac Sports. I will get to those right after I tell you about Ohio Credit Union. Hey, in the heat of summer, maybe you need some extra money for something. Maybe it's a new car. Maybe your air conditioning is just done in your old piece of junk car and you're looking for a loan so that you can get a new one. Maybe it's to get your air conditioning fixed at your house, for crying out loud. Maybe it's for something else entirely. But when you're looking for a place and when you're looking for good people that you can go to and you can talk to and you can have them take interest and care about what it is that you're looking for, what you need, and how to help you to get the money that you need to do the things that you need to do, well, you need to go see Ohio Credit Union. Why not? They've been great. They've been great to this show. They've been great to the Blue Jackets organization, and they will be great for you. There's no doubt about it. You want to find out all the services that they have, you don't even have to stop by. You can just go online right now to telhio.org. You can join Ohio Credit Union, and you'll learn to believe in banking again. Ohio is open to everyone in central and southwestern Ohio. They're an equal housing lender. They're federally insured by NCUA. All right, let's go to the Twitter questions and see what you have for me. At Bobby Mack Sports on Twitter, Marshall Stewart says, would the Blue Jackets really let Ian Cole walk over $250,000 a year? Seems he must have had some preference for Colorado, all things being equal. Well, listen, Marshall, when you go $250 a year times 3 years is $750. Now it's almost $1 million, and I know you think, well, it's all monopoly money anyway. But when you're operating under the constraints of a salary cap and you're hoping to sign Panarin and Bobrovsky and Werenski, you've got to be tight with your money. I mean, you've got to do what is right for you. So they got to a price point, and they said, we can go to here and no further. And somebody else went further, and that's the way it goes. Again, I think at times we get all bothered about this, but general managers have a lot of options. They have a lot of reports. Their scouts have seen a lot of people. If they feel they can get somebody else within their price range that can do the same job or as good of a job as that guy, and if they need to do that, then that's what they'll go out there and do. So, you've got to stay within a budget, and they felt that he just got outside the budget. I don't think it had so much to do with Ian Cole definitely wanting to go to Colorado, and that's the way it was. I think it had to do with the fact that the Colorado Avalanche just exceeded what the Blue Jackets were willing to pay for Ian Cole, and so now he's in Denver. Jonathan Zygmunt says, do you have a specific guy that you wanted the Blue Jackets to draft at number 18, or were you okay with whomever? There were good players on the board at that time. Jonathan, I was okay with whomever. I mean, they follow the amateur guys. I don't. So whatever they did, and look at the track record here. Look at the history. Pierre-Luc Dubois is Exhibit A. I mean, a lot of people thought that was the wrong draft choice for the Blue Jackets to make it number 3 overall. It's looking pretty good right now. So I trust him. I didn't care. It didn't matter to me because I know I'm not going to see that guy for a couple of years unless he is just absolutely brilliant at training camp this year, which would be great. David says, was there any free agent signing that you saw and said the Blue Jackets should have done that? No, not really, to be honest with you. David also asks if there's anyone still available via free agency that I think Columbus should consider, and says if Rick Nash decides to play next year, should the Blue Jackets sign him? The Blue Jackets should only sign Rick Nash if, again, it falls within what they're comfortable paying toward their salary cap. They should not overpay for Rick Nash. Getting Rick Nash does not mean the Columbus Blue Jackets become Stanley Cup favorites. Would he make them better? Yes. Do I think he'd make them better in the top 6? Maybe on the second line, but probably more likely the third line. So, to me, the only way you sign Rick Nash, and I know I've said I think he'll finish here and all of that, if he wants to come back here and finish his career, be it a year, 2 years, whatever, that's fine, but he's got to do it within the financial constraints that this organization has. And if he doesn't want to do that, then no, you don't sign him. It is as simple as that. You wait, because eventually that day will come around where he will sign for what you can afford and he will finish. If that's not this summer, that's fine. Cincy Jackets fan, what's your take on Matt Calvert leaving, and who on the current roster do you think can match his grit and style of play for next year? Well, I told you what I think of him leaving. I hate it. I don't know if anybody can match that. I don't know if anybody can match what he did. Riley Nash will be given the opportunity. But as far as, look, I mean, Marcus Hannikainen skates very fast. But does he play with the same kind of grit and determination as Matt Calvert does? No, not a chance. Nobody does. So, I think you lose that element from your team, at least right now, until somebody else shows that they can or will do it. As we sit here right now, I think you've lost that element of your team. Jared says, what the heck is up with people's obsession with Rick Nash? It seems as if some prominent Twitter fan pages want to sell the farm to get an old player whose best days are far behind him. It makes zero sense. Well, I just explained that, Jared, not quite as bluntly as you did, But I agree. Again, it's got to work for you. You don't have to make it work for him. He's got to make it work for you. Eric Bogan says, what do you think of the Blue Jackets trading Korpisalo? He seems to have too much potential to be playing backup for Sergei Bobrovsky. I do not think that they should trade him. What if they can't sign Sergei Bobrovsky? What if he winds up being the number one guy? You want to trade him and then not be able to sign Bobrovsky? Then where do you go? Elvis Merzlikins? You want to go with a guy next year that's coming over from Europe and has never played in North America? No, you can't trade Joonas Korpisalo as it stands right now. If you re-sign Sergei Bobrovsky to a long-term contract, now we could have a different conversation. But as of right now, there is no way you consider doing that. And that's it. That's what I got. Okay, there you go. Those are the questions on Twitter that you had for me and the questions that I have now answered for you. So I'm getting ready to get in the car and go to Louisville, Kentucky, taking a group of 16-year-olds to Louisville for a baseball tournament the next couple of days. I'm sure it's going to be, well, I'm going to give you the line my grandfather used to give me. I remember distinctly as a kid on days like we've had here recently, and it would be so hot, and he hardly ever wore shorts. If my grandfather was wearing his plaid shorts, it was really, really hot. And he would usually use this line: if hell's any hotter than this, I'm going to church tomorrow. So I'm sure that's the way it's going to be in Louisville. It's going to be hot, and we're going to go down and play some baseball and hope that we can have a little better winning percentage in Kentucky than we have in Ohio so far this summer. But it's going to be a good time. I will enjoy it. I hope that you enjoy whatever it is that you're going to do as well. And, oh, by the way, on this 3rd of July, as we get ready to move to the 4th of July, I'd like to dip back into the past and give you a message from the Duke, John Wayne himself, about tomorrow.
Tomorrow, remember, this is my country and I'm going to do good for it. Just might work. We'll never know unless we give it a fair try. Oh, yeah, and there's one other thing I'll say tomorrow because I say it every day of my life. God bless America.
And I love, stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above.
There you have it. Take care to you and yours. A very happy 4th of July. Enjoy your freedom. Enjoy whatever it is that you want to enjoy on this 4th of July. And again, just take a minute. Just take a minute to give thanks for the fact that you live in the land of the free and the home of the brave. Unless you're listening to this from outside of the U.S., and then I don't really know what to tell you to do, so we'll leave it at that. But again, have a great and a safe 4th of July. Have a great summer. When news comes up, I'll be back with you once again. Until then, this is CBJ in 30, presented by Telhio Credit Union. I'm Bob McElligott. So long.